as the scene through my own experiences. But to start, I'd like to share with you some details about my own beginnings. I was born in 4th of June 1867 in Louhisaari Manor near Turku, the old capital of Finland. That year was very cold in Finland. And I enjoyed a happy childhood in my Louhisaari home, despite every so often being called me a troublemaker and a veritable household hooligan by my family. At 6 years old, I was sent to a well-known private school in Helsinki. My school days came to an abrupt end as a consequence of a fierce snowball fight in the middle in the school year, and I had to return home. Later on, my father made some very unfortunate business decisions and lost all his fortune and also my mother's fortune. He left her and moved to Paris. Our family was split apart. My siblings and I were given to the care of relatives. My guardian was to be my uncle from my mother's side, Albert von Julin, who at the time was a proprietor of the Fiskars iron work. It was decided that I was to be sent to Hamina Cadet School to become an officer of the Finnish Guards Reply Battalion. I did not quite like it there, so I decided to misbehave just enough to get myself kicked out of that school too. My plan was successful. After some time, however, I grew determined to get a grip on myself, to pull myself up by my bootstraps, as the saying goes. I enrolled myself in the Privat Lyceum, a private secondary school in Helsinki. I went straight to senior year and passed my university entrance examinations with distinction in the following spring. Thereafter, my uncle and I decided that I should apply to the cavalry officer school in St. Petersburg. At that point, Finland was an autonomic Grand Duchy, ultimately ruled by Russian Emperor. Russia had set a quota for Finnish students within higher educations. So I too had the opportunity to apply to Nicholas Cavalry School in St. Petersburg. A contributing factor after my being accepted was that a godmother of mine, Countess Scalon de Coligny, had very good connections at the imperial court. After having graduated from the cavalry school, I was transferred to the most esteemed military unit in St. Petersburg, the Chevalier Guard Regiment. Its refined manners and traditions ultimately brought me up to be such the aristocrat which I later became known as internationally. The Chevalier Guard was an elite unit. Only the tallest and most handsome ones were selected there. We enjoyed great popularity among the younger female members of the Petersburgian high society. In 1892, on my third year as a Chevalier officer, I married a wealthy heiress called Anastasia Arapova. 10 years later, she left for Paris with our daughters, Sophie and Anastasia. She told me it was not worth my while to bother following them and trying to make contact. Well, I did not bother. I served a total of 30 years in His Imperial Majesty's Army. Perhaps the most important and consequential mission I carried out during those years was the 2 year and 12,000 kilometer horseback journey through Asia, a covert intelligence mission to gather information and rapidly modernizing China. As reward, I was appointed to command a minor regiment in Poland, and soon thereafter I was promoted to Major General and posted as the commander of the Imperial Russian Life Guard Regiment in Warsaw. I became entitled to bear His Majesty monogram on my epaulets. I became a part of the Emperor entourage of officers. The Poles, of course, kept their distance with us representatives of the occupation force. However, as soon as they found out that I was indeed not Russian, but rather a Finn, all doors opened before me. I began receiving lots of invitations to palaces of the Polish high nobility, and I have to confess that many princesses and countesses showed me much affection. I lived it up in Poland, in my later life I have often said that those 6 years there prior to the First World War were the happiest in my life. As the Great War broke out, I went to the front as a commanding officer of a cavalry regiment. I was promoted to lieutenant general, and in late summer 1917, I was in command of an entire cavalry corps. Having distinguished myself in combat, I was awarded the Cross of the Order of St. George, the most valued military decoration of Imperial Russia. After the war, along came the Russian Revolution, which deprived me of my position and my wealth. I returned to my ancestral home, Finland, on 18th of December 1970. Finland had declared her independence from Russia on the 6th of December. The Western countries declared that the first recognition must come from the former motherland Russia. Only thereafter could other countries follow suit. Finland indeed received a formal document of approval of independence from the Bolshevik government of Russia on the last day of 1917, and there was a strong belief and interest in independence. It turned out not to be so easy, however. The country was deeply divided in two factions. On the other hand, socialists, the Red Guards, who hooked up with garrisoned Russian soldiers still lingering in the country. The Russian units had by then turned pro-revolution. And on the other hand, the forces loyal to the new Finnish government, the Civil Guard or White Guard. That was mainly composed of farming landowners and other members of the middle class. A civil war broke out, or as I rather call it, the War of Liberty. We whites liberated Finland from foreign military presence and guaranteed that she was able to remain a sovereign country. In late May 1918, after the Victory Parade, I resigned from the position of the Commander-in-Chief of the White Army and headed abroad. With mission concerning Finland's independence, the government put me in charge of obtaining formal recognition from France and Britain and other Western nations. I succeeded in doing that too. In the end of November, I was invited to be the regent of Finland because my predecessor in that office, Mr. Svinhufvud, was deemed to be too much in allegiance with Germany, the losing party of the First World War. There was also a growing sentiment for the ending of Finland's courtship with monarchy. The parliament indeed had decided to declare Finland a constitutional monarchy and have even elected a German prince to be the king of Finland, despite my opposition to that. In the end, he never came to Finland. I acted as the regent from November 1980 to the end of July 1990. I signed the new Republican Constitution of Finland on 17th of July 1990. The Constitution, which granted the President considerable powers, was effective well until the 21st century. I lost the first presidential elections. Dr. Ståhlberg was elected and I returned to civilian life. Winters I spent abroad and summers at my villa on the Hanko Peninsula, the southernmost tip of Finland. I acted as the chairman of the Finnish Red Cross Committee and a children's charity foundation that I had founded, as well as the COP of a bank. After a while, in 1931, I was appointed to be the chairman of Finland's Defense Council. Once again, that was a beginning of a long period of service for a state. As Soviet Russia attacked Finland without a declaration of war, in the late November 1930, I was appointed to be the supreme commander of the Finnish army. The Winter War had started. Poor little Finland fought a desperate defensive war against a much bigger and stronger opponent. I too was desperate. I did not believe Finland would last longer than 3 weeks, but as miracles do happen, we lasted over 3 months, the 105 days of glory that eventually became renowned throughout the world. We fought alone, even though Western countries had promised to help us. Britain and France would even have been willing to provide us with a few divisions. That help would never have made it there in time. The Moscow Treaty, which ended the hostilities, was signed in 13th of March 1940. It was a harsh peace. Finland was forced to cede a considerable amount of its area to the Soviet Russia. There were also a number of other grave demands for war reparations. I did not give up my position as the commander-in-chief, even though, according to the Finnish law, that post was to be held by the president under time of peace. I foresaw clearly that as far as Russians considered it, the Moscow Treaty was only to be considered an interim treaty. Stalin's ultimate goal still was to conquer all of Finland and annex Russia. I summoned some officers to my headquarters and entrusted them with building a new line of fortifications to protect our eastern border. That line became completed swiftly and was named the Salva line. Luckily, the strength of it had never to be put to test. The peace turned out not to be a lasting one, exactly as I had anticipated. In June 1941, we were at war once again. Soviet bombers began raiding cities of our fatherland. Finland was once again under attack, but this time not alone. Germany, at the peak of its power, was helping us. After the disastrous German defeat at the Battle of Stalingrad in 1943, we began to actively seek a way out of the war. We had to continue fighting until the end of summer of 1944. The Parliament of Finland conferred the presidency to me after President Ryti had resigned from his office. My first priority was to navigate Finland out of the war. Russia demanded first and foremost that all relations with Germany be cut and the German troops in northern Finland driven out or interned. Soviet Russia also tried to demand that Finland surrender unconditionally, in which case my country would have been occupied from top to bottom. Our offensive victories in the Karelian Isthmus, in Tali-Ihantala and Ilomantsi, however, enabled us to not sway under demands of unconditional surrender, but to commence proper peace negotiations in September 1944. Finland prevailed as an independent, free nation amongst nations. The peace terms were once again harsh. The land ceded to Soviet Russia by the Moscow Treaty was to remain Soviet. We were also forced to lease a 38,000 hectare area to house a Soviet naval base just 30 kilometers away from capital Helsinki, and to pay a terrible amount of war reparations. My duty as the president was to oversee the fulfillment of the peace coordination and to keep my nation united in spite of the severity of those circumstances. And before everything else, to place the trail to a lasting peace for Finland, for a protected posterity. After having done all that, I deemed suitable to leave service and enjoy, in my opinion, well-deserved retirement days. I had bought a mansion called Kirkniemi in Lohja, near Helsinki, where I could enjoy the simple life of a farmer. Ultimately, I settled down in Switzerland, residing in the Valmont Sanatorium near Montreux. There I had the opportunity of taking care of nobody else but myself and writing my memoirs. I had fulfilled my duty towards my fatherland up to the best of my skill and ability, according to my motto, Candida pro causa ense candido. That is, with pure arms for a pure cause. Have a good evening.